Trump's taking back our cities, and Pistol Pete's running point.
I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor, stupid.
Let's bring in Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, the Antifa field training manual discusses hurricane transsexuals and orgy safety seminars. Do you know what that means?
Thankfully, I don't. I don't really want to know what that means, but I'll tell you this. Antifa is a terrorist organization. They have been a terrorist organization for years. I have been calling on the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, to designate them as a terrorist organization. President Trump has now done so, and I appreciate that. It's the right thing to do. And here's the critical piece. Antifa doesn't rise up organically. It is paid for, and here's what we must do. Follow the money. How much of Antifa is paid for by Qatar? How much of it is paid for by Iran? How much of it is paid for by communist China? And how much of it is paid for by left-wing billionaires like George Soros and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who also are massive donors to Democrats? Part of the reason why the Biden administration and every Democrat in Congress turns a blind eye to the violence and terrorism of Antifa is the same people writing the checks are writing the checks and funding their campaigns. And so what I have urged Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice to do, what I've urged Kash Patel and the FBI to do, is follow the money, because it's clear. You look at, for example, the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses all across the country. I'm not the only person who noticed that virtually all of the tents matched. I'm not the only person who noticed that virtually everyone was wearing matching orange vests. There is real money, and we need to put the funders of this terrorism in jail. That's how you cut it off at the source.
Yeah, those checks, that's for blood money. The screen showed, I don't know if you could see it, but you saw ICE snipers rappelling down from military helicopters to defend a federal building in Chicago. What does that symbolize to you?
Look, it symbolizes law and order. It symbolizes a return to sanity. God bless the heroes in ICE, the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. God bless the heroes in CBP and law enforcement. And the Democrats have made a decision. It's stunning. You know, when I was first elected to the Senate 13 years ago, both Democrats and Republicans would agree we support law enforcement, we support police. By the way, people like Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Chuck Schumer would say we should secure our border. Yeah. The Democrat Party has gone bat crap crazy. They have decided they are for open borders, for abolishing the police, they are for George Soros DAs, and they want to let out of jail murderers and rapists and child molesters. And that's an extreme agenda. Look, Democrats are right now upset that ICE agents wear masks. Why do they wear masks? Because Democrats are calling on them to be doxxed. They're calling on people to target ICE agents and their families. And these guys are heroes. They're taking violent gang members off the street. I'm proud to have their back. And I got to say, the rest of the country is looking at these crazy Democrats who want to fly to Central America and have daiquiris with MS-13 members. And they're like, you know what? I don't really want more gangbangers in my neighborhood.
Yeah, CNN's sitting down with these guys, and they're saying that they're under a lot of pressure after Trump's cranked up the heat. He's cranking up the heat on these fat generals, Senator. Are we going to have less fat generals now at the Pentagon?
I have to admit, I couldn't help but thinking of Sergeant Schultz. If you ever watched Hogan Heroes, as a little kid, I would watch Hogan's Heroes with my dad, and Sergeant Schultz, the big fat Nazi, would go, I hear nothing, I see nothing. And you know what? Good for Pete Hegseth for making our military focus on the job of the military as not to be a vanguard for left-wing social change. The job of the military is to be prepared every day to fight and defeat and kill our enemies and to keep America safe. President Trump is focused on that, and Pete Hegseth is a good friend, your former colleague, is focused on bringing back the warfighter culture to the Department of War. I think that's good for America, and I got to say, I'm hearing from active duty military, they are thrilled to get out of the transgender witch business and to get back in the business of killing terrorists and bad guys.
Yeah, and those guys also need paychecks. And if the government gets shut down
Yes.
because the Democrats want health care for illegals, they might miss a couple. What are you hearing about the shutdown?
Look, we're having a shutdown. The Democrats voted to shut the government down today. And they're doing it, on the face of it, they're doing it because they want free health care for illegals. But you know what they're really doing it for? They're doing it because their crazy left-wing base is so angry. A few months ago, when Chuck Schumer and the Democrats agreed to keep the government open, Schumer almost lost his job. The left wing lost their mind, and AOC is breathing down his neck. And so this shutdown, understand, this is a temper tantrum of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats saying, we hate Donald Trump. We hate Donald Trump so much, we're going to shut the government down. We're going to shut the national parks down. Yosemite's going to be shut down. The Smithsonian's going to be shut down. The National Institutes of Health will be shut down. We're going to stop government paychecks. Why? Yes, because they want health care for illegals, but really because they want to say, we hate Donald Trump. And I don't know how long. This shutdown could last days. It could last weeks, because it's a temper tantrum to protect Chuck Schumer's job. And the Schumer shutdown, everybody knows that's what's going on. We'll see how long the Democrats want to shut it down.
All right. We'll be following it. And, our hearts go out to those people down in Texas that had to deal with that crazy sniper. God bless you guys and stay safe,
horrific.
Senator. Yep.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.